hurtling towards Earth at breakneck speed. You're watching NASA's live feed of the Artemis astronauts. We're just minutes away from their fiery re-entry into our atmosphere. I'm Ben Fazulin, and to talk about the risks and dangers, I've got Sushmita Ramakrishnan from DW Science with me. Thank you very much for coming in and watching every step of this mission with me. Also, Keith Cowing. Feel free to chime in anytime, Keith. He's a former NASA employee and rocket scientist. And for anyone joining us, put your questions in the comments section. I can put them to our experts. First of all, Sush, how nerve-wracking is this moment in time for everyone involved? I mean, a decade of planning, billions spent on this mission, and this could be the riskiest part right now.
Which is also what several people, including astronauts like Alexander Gerst, basically said, that the entire mission happened and now we're entering the most riskiest phase, the re-entry. Essentially also because they're going to be entering the Earth's atmosphere at 40,000 kilometers per hour.
That's ridiculous.
That's like more than 30 times the speed of sound. Wow. If we travel at the speed of sound, we could shatter glass.
Okay.
So,
how come their capsule doesn't shatter?
It is built in such a way that the Orion capsule can handle this amount of speed and also the temperature, because the outer surface is going to be slowly charred, burned off, and it would also lead to the creation of like a fireball effect that we see when it enters the Earth's atmosphere, and then the fire eventually gets put out and the capsule lands into the water. And at the highest point where the temperature raises to the maximum, it can go up to 2,700 degrees Celsius.
Oh, my goodness. So they've got a heat shield, I believe, that's there, but have they had problems with that? What's the issue there?
Looking at Artemis I, when it came back, they realized something weird had happened. They realized that the heat shield had burned off a lot more than what they had anticipated it to. In fact, there are videos of, you can see parts of the heat shield have come out in chunks. But on the other hand, the reason it happened is because the material was not porous enough. So when heat burned it off, it trapped in some air bubbles which didn't have the space to escape and therefore caused a bit of pressure and explosion in localized areas. But NASA says that this time they have upgraded the shield a little bit, not too much. They didn't have the time to redo the whole thing, but we have the same, fundamentally the same heat shield back in place. And in fact, something that's a little more tighter, more concise, but NASA is confident that the astronauts inside are going to be safe.
Keith, what are your feelings about this re-entry?
Well, just to complete the story, the heat shield on Artemis I obviously was an unmanned test flight. The idea is to fly a spacecraft without humans on board because of these issues that might arise. Artemis II has more or less the same heat shield, but if you were listening carefully to the weird NASA jargon that we used to speak, you heard CM raise, and that was what they did. This is a capsule. They raised the angle ever so slightly, and that changes the angle at which the spacecraft comes into the atmosphere. They're going to do a skip. And what they're going to do is pull down some of the energy of the reentry, then go back up a bit and come back down again. And what they expect this to do is to lighten the load, the heat load on the heat shield, so that it'll be within the range that it shouldn't experience that same chunky, flake off again. But again, this is a heat shield that it's designed to ablate. It's designed to burn off slowly, not in chunks, which was the problem the first time. So we'll see if it works. It should.
Well,
Keith, I also have a question that I'd like to follow up on this. So one of the key differences from my understanding is that last time they did a much larger skip, which is like, it's like the rock skipping across the river, where it jumped multiple times, and this time it's only once, and then the angle of entry is going to be much steeper. Could you explain what this means? Like, what are we doing here? Why is the trajectory different?
Well, again, the whole notion is when you have a capsule shape, this is not the capsule, but it's a capsule. They're shaped in a certain ballistic fashion, roughly the same, some are pointy, so that when you aim it at the Earth's atmosphere, if you don't do much else, it's designed to just come in and be stable. The center of gravity is a little bit off, so it keeps this angle. You can play with the angle with the little jets, which is what they just did. Now you can come in and you can either come directly in, you can go in and skip a couple of times to cut the some of the energy off, or you can change the angle a bit again, slow the angle with which, bring the angle a little bit more determined and skip once and come down. So this is actually the actual rocket science aspect of coming in. They pick the trajectory that will put the least amount of stress, given that they're coming in at 25,000 miles, 40,000 miles per hour from the moon.
Okay, let's bring up the graphic that we've got of that re-entry, because it's quite telling and describes well what you've just been going through, Sush, what you've been explaining as well. And today I heard German astronaut Alexander Gerst describing this re-entry as the correct place and time is having a razor-thin margin for error. Walk us through those steps again, though. That's the skipping of the stone that you were talking about, is it? That dip that we see? Which is circled there, and take us through the next steps then, Sush.
So from 400,000 feet, it drops to 200,000 feet. And here's where you see the skipping stone effect, where it raises a bit and re-enters our atmosphere. And it's from here where we're going to see this massive fireball. And at some point, the further it keeps coming down, like just a few minutes before the splashdown, you're going to have 11 parachutes that pull the whole capsule down towards the ocean. And finally, when they do touch down, it's going to be around 32 kilometers per hour, roughly, when they touch. And for the period where you see the fireball around the capsule, we're going to be cut off from the astronauts. We're going to have a slight communication blackout during this period. And I think this is the part that gets a little more tense. Maybe Keith could add on what happens in this blackout.
Keith, do you know what happens in the blackout?
Oh yeah, this is like my 500th. So little boy, I learned during the Apollo era what the blackout was. So one more time, as the capsule comes in, there's an immense amount of kinetic energy that's being thrown at this capsule, and it's hitting the air. And between the angle that it comes in, the heat, it's pushing the air, and it's creating a plasma that surrounds the spacecraft. And the way it's designed, you can't get radio signals through. Now, the interesting thing is SpaceX, with its rocket, has actually put some of their Starlink antennas on, and they've actually had communications all the way down. So I would expect that on future flights, they'll be able to add that capability in. But what this really is basic, an ionization sphere around it, and the flames and all the Sturm und Drang and all the other stuff that's going on. Radio just isn't going to get through. And it is the most nerve-wracking period of time, whether it was in the 60s or here in 2026.
Guys, can you pull in the live feed again? Because it looked like we were just watching the detachment there. I don't know if that had already happened or they were live pictures of the spacecraft from the engine, yeah? So what are we looking at right now? Is this the view for the Artemis crew, basically?
Yeah, look, you'll probably see the Earth's limb down in the lower right-hand corner. And I'd be interested to see what the camera picks up as it comes in, because you'll see some of the flames shooting past these windows. They're, rather robust, but you will see, quite a light show going right by the window. And it'll probably you won't be able to see anything other than that fire for 4 or 5 minutes.
But the right kind of light show that we want to see, yeah.
Well, it's the sort that my friends who've flown said you're sitting there in a shuttle, but it's pretty much the same. And about this far above your head, there's this 5,000-degree thing going on, and you're that far away, but you're safe, but you're still kind of looking at
way
something
too close.
Pretty intense.
So Keith, how full on is this for the body, for the astronauts physically? I mean, I know they go through heaps of training, but despite all of that, what are their bodies going through during this re-entry?
Well, I've done centrifuge runs at 6 Gs, which is more than what they're pulling, but it's 3 or 4 Gs. It's really, that's once you've done it once or twice, it's very easy to take in stride. But they've been in space for 10 days. And
Uh-huh.
so you do have issues with fluid shifts and graying out and things like that. But again, if you've ever had a centrifuge ride, you're able to sort of grunt and fix that. And they'll probably load with some fluids ahead of time. That gets their central blood volume up a bit, which raises their blood pressure a bit, which makes it a little easier to tolerate this stuff. Funny thing,
Okay.
the older you are, the more I'd be a perfect astronaut to come back with high blood pressure. But when you're younger and you're fit, you tend to have lower blood pressure. So that really is an issue. You don't want to really be working out too much in space.
But is it like the gravitron at the fair where you get stuck to the wall, and if you're in a certain position, that's the position you're going to be in for the rest of the ride?
If that's what you call it in Germany, yes, you are being centrifuged around at about yeah.
Oh my
Here we just had a
goodness.
set of yeah, it's the same thing, centrifugal force,
Okay.
and it does replicate the reentry, but it's replicating it. It's not the same thing, but your body doesn't know the difference, and how you react to it. You sort of grunt, and you have to learn. It's a reflex you learn. Once you've learned it, you say, "Oh, that's all it takes."
Okay. Well, you make it sound easy. So re-entry takes only 13 minutes. Is there anything else that we have to look out for, Sush?
One thing, I mean, adding to what Keith was already saying, is they've been in microgravity. So this does something to their body.
But only, what, 10 days?
Yes, but still, as he mentioned, the fluids shift up in your body. And as soon as they come back, they are not immediately going to be released into the common world. As it is. They would go through a series of medical examination, tests, and also additionally, they have designed certain obstacle courses, like being able to climb a ladder, etc., for the astronauts to do as soon as they land on Earth and before they are broken away from quarantine, before they could get out, finally.
Look at this amazing view that we're getting right now of Earth. That's pretty spectacular. And I bet they will be very happy to be getting so close. Nervous as well, I'm sure, but happy to be coming home at least. They're going in the right direction right now. One of the risks that you were talking about before, I mean, this skipping stone thing, if they get it wrong, they could be skipping back off into space, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, Keith?
Yeah, that was always back in the day when they would talk about, the movie Apollo 13 for the younger folks, both of you, when they were talking about what would happen if they got it wrong, and they could skip out and go, be lost in space. That was something that they would bring during the TV broadcasts I was a kid. They say, but we're careful about that, but it is the one thing. This is rocket science, skipping rocks on a pond at Mach 30. If you could, we've kind of got that down, but every time you do it, it's like a piece of artwork.
Guys, could we show that cockpit shot from just a few hours ago of the astronauts carrying out the return trajectory correction burn? Because this is what pushed them on course, I believe, for their re-entry. Is that right? Is that the moment, Sush, that determined what's going to happen right now?
Yeah, of course. And I think also it's from this point on that we're also going to have possibly a cutoff from the inside. And then we would only soon start seeing the capsule from the outside for some time.
Yeah, we're about to, right now.
Okay, well, if we go back to the live pics then.
They should drop out at any moment when the ionization gets to a certain point. 53. It's still there, but you'll see at some point it'll just drop out. You'll see bars.
We see little specks of
one funny
light
thing
in
while
the background.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Just dropped out. Okay.
One funny thing, just to add to readapting to Earth, some of my astronaut friends have told me some weird jokes, learning how to be on Earth again. And one of the funniest ones is when they would say, well, you take a coffee cup, not that you drink like this in space, but you have something you drink from. And he would just go like this and go, and it would fall on the floor and crash. And they go, oh, yeah. So it takes a few days to get, it is kind of funny.
So tell me a little bit more, apart from this re-entry, we've also got the Splashdown, which we haven't talked about yet. It's been extensively tested. We've got some pictures of some of the tests that they'd been carrying out. There'll be divers on hand, I believe. The Navy's going to be there. Keith, do we have to be worried about getting all 4 astronauts out, and who gets to go out first?
Well, the capsule comes in. You have a total of 5 big main chutes, but they're pulled up by smaller drogue chutes. So you see these little ones coming out, and then it'll just be shaking, and all of a sudden they'll let go, and these bigger chutes will come out, and they'll start shaking, and then they'll open up. You can go with 1 or 2 of them not deploying and be okay, but the fewer of those you have, the rougher your landing. When you land, you're either going to land, station 1 or station 2. One is floating like this, the other's like this. If you come in and you end up like this, they blow some balloons, 5 helium balloons, and it relights like this, which is what they did during Apollo. Then the divers come up, they put a collar, an additional flotation device around this thing. And, then they're going to, check on the crew. They have a radio and so forth. Who comes out first? I don't know. I think there's 4 couches in there, and everybody's sort of the same distance away. But it's probably the commander's probably last because a couple Navy guys, so they'll stay with their ship.
Yeah, ladies first.
I don't know. If she was the commander, no.
So, do you have anything more about the Splashdown? I mean, because there are risks involved there as well.
With respect to the splashdown itself, I think once they are safely in Earth's atmosphere, even in the case that the primary parachute fails, there are redundancies packed into the security.
Okay.
So, in fact, like there is this reputation about NASA. We're looking at the plasma burning. At the screen. So within every step, there is a safety backup that's planned into all of these steps. So barring the heat shield, I think everything else has a backup and it would be safe. NASA claimed that even if the heat shield is completely burned off, the astronauts would still be safe as long as they're inside the capsule.
Okay. Is this just a visualization that we're seeing now?
Yeah.
Okay, just let me know if, when we're back to the live pictures. So in this visualization...
They will have some images from aircraft and telescopes at some point. They probably do now. They're just a little light like that, but you'll be able to see them soon because it is coming down at what is getting to be dark there. So you'll have optical, visible light and infrared imagery. Any moment now, they'll be showing that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we'll stay with the pictures for now in case we do get it. But even looking at this visualization, look how tiny that capsule is within that fireball. And I said re-entry was, what, 13 minutes?
Yeah.
So you've got to put up with that fireball for quite some time, don't you?
Well, I mean, if you've spent 10 days in that capsule with just only each other, and I think these moments would possibly fly by very quickly.
Okay.
I think maybe this is also a nice time to quickly recap what they have done over the past 10 days.
Because everyone knows about the photos. There's been some, if we can get up some of the pictures that have been taken, which have just been spectacular. The one behind us, of course, of Earth rising, the eclipse that they also got, which I was told was meant to be quite rare, was pretty amazing too. But they've been doing other stuff as well, haven't they?
Of course. I mean, one thing when you speak about the Earthrise that comes to me is the overview effect, where astronauts often, when they're in space and they look at Earth, they say that their perspective of how they view life changes because suddenly you realize this sublime moment where you're just a small speck in this massive blue marble that's out there. Additionally, I mean, when it comes to the productivity part of the experimentation itself, the idea is with Artemis, we get an idea as to what deep space does to the human body. And they have been collecting a lot of data over the last 10 days, both during the flyby and on the way back on what exactly radiation does to both the body and to the instruments on board. And as Keith spoke also in the last time, where the the fact that they could come back in a free-range trajectory where they're completely pulled by gravitation is also really cool, because at this point you're not really using fuel to come
it's all
this
free
far.
fall, isn't it?
Yeah, you probably use a little bit of fuel for correction, but you're essentially just falling down into Earth all the way from the moon.
Yeah, that's the thing that impressed me the most. Oh, so this is real. This is happening right now.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep. That's a still, looks like a still frame. It's not a live video, but I have not seen the spacecraft re-enter like this before, so that looks kind of normal to me. What you don't want to see is things coming off. So there seems to be a very symmetrical shape here. Let me, if I can get the audio. Yeah, I don't have any audio here. Nobody seems to be. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Here we go again.
If it looks steady, if it looks symmetrical, if it's moving in a straight line, yeah, that.
Okay, that's like moving in a straight line.
Okay, I mean, it's actually, if you've done everything right, it just comes in and pops its parachutes out, which seems to be what we saw there for a moment. I don't know if this is from a ground-based telescope or an WP-57 space airplane. I'm not I can't tell. It's getting drop out. They're out in the middle of the ocean.
Okay. But it sounds like that's a successful re-entry, yeah?
So far, I mean, with what I can see here, we haven't had the Apollo 13 moment when they, hello, Houston, which we'll hear soon.
Yeah.
But
here we are getting another shot.
On their computers.
And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's hard to tell with the direction there.
Yeah, it's way up there still. I mean, we're still well within the ionization period, and so this is quite a distance up.
Okay.
But
what do you think the crew is feeling inside right now? Is it just like
loud? There's probably a rumble. It's not this. It's smooth. But it's sort of a rigorous sort of steady vibration. And of course, your brain, when you see things flashing in front of you, you may not hear them, but your brain is telling you that it's fire. So it's quite the light show. Okay, here's another shot.
Let's listen in, Keith.
No Cab 1 views of the chutes.
Integrity.
We're processing good data through the GPS system. A good view of integrity. Time to splash down 4.5 minutes.
Okay. Oh, cool. They're getting data. Spacecraft looks looks just the way it should.
And a view of integrity from the WB-57. We're at 50,000 feet.
So the fireball's over, is it?
Oh yes. Now it's just flying through the clouds, and we're getting close to the point where you'll see the little drogue chutes shoot out the top.
So descending through the clouds.
Pyros are armed for forward bay coverage.
Okay, comes something. What was that? Wow, this is spectacular.
I'm also interested in the name Integrity. Where does this mission name come from, Keith?
And there go the first series of parachutes.
I'm not sure. Okay, they're the drogue.
And
okay, there's the drogue chutes.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
2 good drogue chutes. Next up.
We copy. We see them.
Next up, the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah, the countdown there.
Okay, you'll see the big chutes coming out.
Perfect descent rate according to flight dynamics.
Good rates on 2 drogues.
We see the same on board.
Passing through 10,000 feet. Still on drogues.
Okay, we're getting close. We'll see the big chutes coming out any moment now. There they go. There come out the
Oh,
drogues.
yes.
The drogues are pulling out the big chutes.
Main chute deployed.
And there are the big chutes. They're reefing right now. And any
We're at
moment they'll.
5,000 feet.
Like
So
one's got a bit of a
they're
wiggle
really
to it.
putting the brakes on now, are they?
Yeah. And now you've got.
Search and recovery
Okay,
beacon has
there
been
you go.
activated on integrity.
Good mains, as they would say, 3 good mains.
And we have 3 good main
Out
chutes.
the window.
There you go.
Okay, so the chutes are doing what they're meant to
3 main
do.
Chutes, good reefing, good descent.
Yeah, so now it's
We see
just,
3
you
good-looking
know, you're
parachutes.
going to hit the water at like 20 miles an hour. And it looks kind of, there's a little bit of chop there, but, you know, the next thing now is whether you're, you know, got a couple of Navy guys on there, so they're used to being on boats. But
Integrity, Captain
that's
Pressure
now the
indicates
issue.
no need
You get
for hydrogen
seasick as you land.
Is it still really warm in there?
Integrity copies.
Oh no, it never got warm. That's the
Oh,
thing. You have a
okay.
life support
Wow.
system.
Perfect
Oh
descent
no,
for integrity.
they never noticed the difference.
Okay.
I think it's 21
Yeah,
degrees
they get it.
inside the capsule.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
Yeah, they have air conditioning.
Okay, these
Oh,
are
this is
nice.
just beautiful.
These are nice shots.
Yeah. With my limited German, is ausgezeichnet.
Ausgezeichnet. Very good. Excellent. So what are your feelings? This sounds like mission accomplished so far.
Well, you know, again, you're talking to a 15-year-old boy and a 70-year-old man. I mean, I'm remembering when this happened when I was a kid. It was the same shot, the 3 mains coming in and, you know, the coming down. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are, well, we don't smoke cigars as much anymore, but getting ready for that. And I think just everybody's just happy and it's going to, you know, they're going to land. And then they'll have the divers come up. They'll put the thing around the spacecraft. They'll get them out. They'll wave. They'll bring them back by helicopter. They'll land on the deck of the space recovery ship. And then the NASA administrator flew in. He'll be there to shake their hands.
The relief must just be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's a bit different with space shuttles. You watch a space shuttle, it comes in and it lands and it's like, you know, whoosh and bang, there it is. But this is, you get a long period of time to watch this come in. You see, you know, this is pretty much, you could play this almost moment by moment against an Apollo landing and it would look pretty much the same, except this is in 4K.
Keith, what's the flickering coming off the capsule at the moment?
That's probably, they're venting some of the jets now that, yeah, they're probably stabilizing the spacecraft as it
Oh,
comes
here we
down.
go.
There it is. Yeah.
Confirmed.
Copy,
And we're
Splashdown.
down.
Waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Great to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, they always have to have one of those. And Rob Navius has been doing this forever, so he nobody can say
And
it
the
better
landing
than he
and support
does.
officer reports the vehicle is stable 1. We still will be
Stable
deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A
You'll see the
perfect
balloons
bullseye
any moment
splashdown
now.
for Integrity and its 4 astronauts.
So you'll see these little geodesic spheres starting to inflate at the top of the capsule if they can get the video. And they're filled with helium, so this keeps it stable and it also reduces the chance that it might sink. And then, of course, when the divers come up, they'll put a collar around it, which is inflated. That also helps with the buoyancy. Then they're going to come in with rafts, and the crew will come out and so forth. So, you know, and I believe the suits also have some life preserver-like bladders on them. So everybody's going to be fine
The
at this
unofficial
point. But it's
splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you. That would put the end of the mission at a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, 35 seconds.
There
Okay.
you go. Very specific. Like every part of this mission, hey, it all has to be
Configuring for
planned
very low
out
data rates.
so minutely.
it's rocket
And I-
science.
It's rocket science. You said it.
Once again,
You said
splashdown
it, Keith.
occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego, at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, com check on VLDR.
You hear the crew in a
Houston, we
second.
have you loud and clear on VLD, or how else?
Well,
We have you the same.
That
We'll
was the
meet you
crew.
over in post-landing.
So they're using a different communication system now to talk directly to the crew inside the capsule, and they're apparently fine.
Stable one.
Okay,
4
fantastic.
Green crew members.
Houston, copies all.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means. So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for integrity.
wow.
Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
So that is the most number of astronauts who went to deep space now and came back, because in Apollo it was 3, and this time it's 4.
Yes.
And how much further did they actually get into space than anyone else?
This
Oh,
time,
well,
go on, Keith.
you probably know the exact number. It was a bit. It was enough.
It was enough to set a new record.
Yeah. Now you see those little red spheres there. I can only see 4, which means one probably didn't open.
Okay. And is that going to cause problems, or is?
No. This is, as a matter of fact, I believe if only one of them opens, that's enough. I mean, they just,
Okay.
they want to be redundant and redundant and redundant. They say, pass, yeah,
We
fail,
continue,
fail.
to monitor the functioning of the CMOOS system. The airbags are being inflated to maintain a stable 1 or upright configuration. And there's a good view from one of the naval helicopters hovering overhead. Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members, meaning they're all in excellent shape.
So no upset tummies on board?
I'm
Well, now
wondering
they're going to have the ship is, now that the spacecraft's in the water, the ship is moving closer. They've got the recovery helicopters out there. You'll see
Integrity,
the
Houston, 4, star
frogmen.
beacon and radio.
SAR beacon is in 406, and we're powering the radio now. Go ahead.
We see the beacon on. However, the recovery team is not seeing the signal. Your SAR radio uses the same antenna, so you may run into trouble with the radio.
Okay, well, they're having some
Yeah, we're
communications
also powering
issues,
up
but
the sat phone now.
they're using a satellite phone. They know where they are. We're looking at pictures of them. So, there's the fifth. Now the 5th bubble
So
has
integrity
apparently.
is in great shape. And as the crew continues its post-splashdown timelined activities on board, Reed Wiseman once again reporting that all 4 crew members are in excellent shape.
how
And we have
long
5
until they
inflated
return to
airbags
normalcy,
maintain an
Keith?
upright configuration.
Well,
So that,
what's
the reaction,
normalcy is
the recovery
they'll
team,
get to the ship,
can
they'll
now
do the
begin
the
a
photo
slow
op and
approach
everything, and
to
they'll
the
be
vehicle.
immediately
We go out
taken
here in the
to
flight control room,
be
enter
checked
flight
out.
director
They
Rick
seem to be
Hensley.
fine, so I'm sure they'll have a press conference at some point this evening if they're all doing okay, and that seems to be what's going on. But then they have to go through a much more rigorous test. Then they will take them back to Houston, where they'll do even more tests, and it'll be a day or two before we actually probably see them again, and they're going to spend time with their families and all that. So right now it's pretty much what's it like when you come back from space on another mission in Earth orbit or to the space station.
Keith, did they get like jet lag or anything like that?
Well, they're on a mission elapsed time, which is sort of goes based on mission control and so forth. So they tend to kind of be on Houston time to some extent, but it also has to do with the lighting and what time they need to be awake to do certain things. So I don't think I think jet lag is like the last thing they're worried about right now. They're just sort of getting used to the idea of up and down.
Flyby of the moon.
Keith, we've got
It was,
a couple viewers asking us what your handle is, because they want to follow you. They say you know your stuff and you deserve followers.
At NASAWatch, NASAWATCH on
There you
Twitter, and NASAWatch.com on the web.
go. Fantastic. Another viewer, Sophie, is asking how fast these guys were going. What it was when they were in free fall, it was 40,000 kilometers an hour before they hit Earth's atmosphere, and then where did it go from there?
It took a dive. Well, when you come right in, it slows down really fast, which is what a lot of the G-forces are involved. You drop, you bleed off, as we would say, a lot of that speed very quickly. So I'd have to go look at the profile, but you go from Mach 30 down to like Mach 10, 5 very quickly, which is the violence of coming in, is the sheer energy that's being imparted by this spacecraft on the Earth's atmosphere. It's quite a violent thing. That's why you see what you see. And coming back from the moon, you're going much faster than you normally would returning from Earth. When you return from Earth orbit, you're coming in at 17,500 miles an hour. Still quite a feat, but not as fast. From the moon, it's that much more at 25,000 miles per hour. And so you have even more of this kinetic energy that you need to bleed off in a very controlled fashion. And again, okay, now we have a good shot of the spacecraft, obviously being taken from very close in. All the balloons are out. The sea doesn't look that bad. And again, 2 of the 4 are naval veterans, so they're all taking their Dramamine, I guess, and just kind of waiting for the frogmen to bang on the window.
And we can see some sort of responder flashing there for them to locate it.
Yeah, they have a variety of, like, if for example they came in a couple hundred miles off. On occasion, you know, that we had a spacecraft that came in an emergency in another ocean. That was Gemini 8 had to do that. And you have these various beepers, radio signals, kind of like what you would have if you were at sea on a sailboat, needed help, or if you were buried in an avalanche, visible lights so that the boat can see you in bad conditions. And it looks like something with a motor is in the distance coming in. So, you know, again, everything is nominal, as we would say in the industry.
So what do you think about this mission? You've been following it every step of the way, Sush. What are your feelings?
It's incredible that we just slingshot around the moon and came back. Almost like 50 years later, we've seen the far side of the moon in person. And as we speak previously, the way the astronauts look at the moon is like holding a basketball at an arm's length. So this is how they saw the moon. And I also think we have a good picture of how exactly the future Artemis missions would happen and what kind of challenges one may face when planning for these missions. Artemis III is also planned as a kind of test mission where they're going to observe what happens in future missions. But Artemis IV, we plan to make a landing on the moon with humans again. So the whole exercise is a preparation towards this. And all of Artemis itself is a preparation for us to eventually go towards Mars. And when I say we, I'm speaking about humans as a whole, not just NASA, not just America.
Yeah, we don't get to go.
Yeah, it is an expensive feat. There is also a lot of questions, criticism raised about having such an expensive mission, especially during times of global conflict, etc. But there is a certain amount of democratization of technology that happens with our expansion into space. And I think that is the broader goal of missions like this.
Okay. We can see the boat now getting really close to the capsule. And are we going to get to see it live here on TV or online?
Yeah. You should be able to see it.
Cool.
And just to add what was just said, you know, the thing about when I was a little boy watching this, it was America versus Russia, and it was war by another means. I mean, we're trying to outdo each other's political systems. now they're testing their spacecraft that's going to take people
Yeah.
to space. They're talking about going to the moon with a straight face. They have the technological capability to do it, as do many other countries. And again, as I've said on many other programs, 3/4 of the people on this planet have never seen. This is for both of you, I think, your first moon mission. And so billions of people in a world that's far more interconnected than it was when I was little are seeing this. And there's billions of kids growing up who have got a chance now, a realistic one, to be involved in this, and not just in America or Europe or some of the more developed nations. So to me, I mean, I just sit back a bit. That's the most exciting aspect of this for me, is that
Yeah,
this
get
really
into
is a democratization of the exploration of space. All right, you see the divers in the water. You
yeah.
see yeah, they'll be putting a collar literally around the spacecraft and then inflating it.
Houston copies, and Reed, just to confirm, you are pushing the PTT on the radio.
Keith, how long do you reckon it'll take to get them out of the capsule?
Probably past the time I'm on the air with you. It's going to probably take a good. They have to put the collar on and connect it, and then it's so forth. So I would say it's probably a good 10 or 15 minutes at most,
Okay.
earliest, because they're in. Of course, being inside a little rocking boat like that, they kind of want to get out as soon as they can,
Yeah, I
because
bet.
it is a little rocking boat. And some fresh air is always the best way to return to Earth, even if it's salty ocean air.
And Keith, what about all the data that's been coming in? What sort of data are we going to get out of this mission? We were talking about the cost, but is there some sort of return?
Well, here's I mean, you could sit with the analogies of, what the cost is compared to this is an American mission with some European and Canadian assistance, but the billions that went into this, it pales in comparison to things that we don't think twice about in terms of, what do we pay for internet access or pizza or bubble gum or whatnot. And in terms of the payback, you could say that, technologies are developed because of this, but as Carl Sagan once said, you don't need to go to Mars to cure cancer. You may discover something along the way, but there are benefits to this. And again, I just put it to anybody who's not of the original space nations that, America and Europe and so forth. Why is it that India, China, smaller countries like Nepal has little satellites in orbit? Why are they discovering something like this and are excited about it more than we are here in the West? Of course, I guess we're rediscovering it now. It's because this was sort of the thing. If you can go to the moon, this is like the epitome of what a skilled, proud nation can do. And that, again, used to be big nations, but now it's lots of nations all over the place. So
What do you
what's the
think?
cost of that? Well, in outer space right now, in the International Space Station, we're getting along very well with the Russians. We don't get along well with them on Earth. So
No.
maybe space has something very important to teach us. And that
Yeah.
is how to get along with each other, doing something that's more exciting than shooting at each other.
It is a lot more exciting. I totally agree. I mean, I'm stuck here behind a desk watching shooting every day, Keith, and this is a breath of fresh air for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's that, don't look past the importance of that. Unfortunately, even during Apollo, after the first and second and third missions, they sort of didn't pay as much attention to them. And of course, in the news business, it's man bites dog, not man pets dog. And, we've got wars going on that will distract us as soon as, you do your wrap up at the top of the hour. So it's unfortunate. And I just hope that maybe this time, a few 100 million of those billion kids who saw this for the first time will be saying, hey, I want to do this too. And that maybe that'll rub off. I'm hopeful.
I'm definitely also as starry-eyed as Keith, but I have some other things that I would like to add to what he was speaking, especially about different countries also being interested in the space race. There is the academic aspect of it. There is the universal curiosity, which is the fundamental driving force behind such missions. But also what powers these missions financially is the possibility that one day we could extract, say, minerals from outer space, or we could build technology that would enable us to improve our communications multifold from where we are. And also, there's a fantastic essay called The Usefulness of Useless Information. I would highly recommend
Writing it down.
going back to it, where we often discover how certain things become useful only when they do become useful years down the line. And with many of these missions, we gather incredible amounts of data, and we don't know which of them become useful in future missions. And it's not just countries like India or China that's interested, like at this point, to a space agency like NASA. Companies like SpaceX are unfortunately also in equal competition in how far or where space can go. It's not just government institutions working on academic progress, it is commercial. There is a viable, marketable option out of space that comes out of all of this.
I mean, that competition's been making it a lot cheaper, hasn't it?
Definitely. I think where the difference comes is manufacturing costs, labor costs. All of these are cut corners when it comes to commercial entities. And also, there are fewer safety protocols that have to be taken into account, fewer government regulations on reusability, environmental degradation that these parts could cause. All of it is different between private and state players, which contributes partially to why also government-run missions are way more expensive than private missions to space. And also pollution of the orbit, low Earth orbit, where there are satellites already. And this is also because of commercial space exploration. We keep putting out stuff constantly into space in hope that we get commercial return out of all of this.
Well, let's hope that there is some huge commercial return at some stage. Can we get any of the sound up here on this feed?
On the John P. Murtha right now.
Yeah, look at them behind us
We've
here.
got everybody. Hey, what do you guys think? We just brought some astronauts back from the moon, huh? Unbelievable. Thank you. Yeah, so grateful to the Navy, the sailors that are here, the NASA teams. I mean, this is a joint effort that's on their way right now. These recovery forces are getting out to our Orion spacecraft, to Integrity, get our astronauts back on the ship safely.
Yeah, and this is not just an accomplishment for NASA. This is an accomplishment for humanity. Again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis II crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once in a lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
Yeah, are we going to build on the momentum for Artemis III? I mean, it's just around the corner.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's, part of me too. Like, I can't wait to get the crew off of Integrity right now, but also getting Integrity back on this ship so we can start taking a look at it, because all that data is so precious to us right now. I mean, we are going to definitely want to take a good look at the thermal protection system. We're going to want to download all the data they couldn't transmit back to us and use that to inform Artemis III. But we're already making progress, right? You had SRB segments already showing up at KSC. Core stage for Artemis III is rolling out on April 20th. We're getting Mobile Launcher 1 back in vehicle assembly building. So yes, there is a lot to celebrate right now on a mission well accomplished for Artemis II, and at the same time, we got to start getting ready for 3.
Amazing. And last question, for
okay, we'll get back to you, Keith. Just last words. Mission accomplished. Pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, along the lines of spreading this on the world, I'll be on Al Jazeera in a few minutes. And I wish more people would go on these television networks that are outside of what we tend to do here in the West. I mean, there's billions of people that really just want to understand what's going on here. And that's sort of what I've been doing. I've done 20 or some odd of these interviews in the past 4 or 5 days. This is the democratization of the exploration of space, and to steal someone else's line, it takes a planet to explore the universe. And I think hopefully this is a step where we will move and take another step afterwards. And I think that's Al Jazeera calling now.
Okay, I'll let you go, Keith. Thanks so much for being on our live stream. It's been great talking to you. Keith Cowing there from NASAWatch, a former rocket scientist and former NASA employee. And Sush, you're still with us from DW Science. She's been taking us through this step by step. And it's been an amazing night, hasn't it? I mean, first of all, watching this capsule hurtling through space towards Earth's atmosphere after doing a figure eight around the moon at breakneck speed. And then that dangerous re-entry. Just take us through again what viewers may have just missed. How well did that all go?
I thought it was quite smooth. It was exactly what we had expected. As Keith pointed out as well, the entry seemed quite symmetric. The way it entered the atmosphere, we saw these little circular rings around the capsule. If it wasn't circular and it was distorted, we know that something is going off. And if it was asymmetric, we know that it has to be adjusted for to come back soon. But I think the mission seemed all right. And we also heard from Weissman inside that everybody's okay.
Yep.
I think from here on, it's about processing the data that was gathered on board Orion and moving forward, how we build further deep space exploration missions from what we gather from all of the information from this mission.
So a textbook touchdown, or splashdown to be more accurate, as we heard from Mission Control. Thank you very much for joining our live stream on NASA's moon mission, splashing down in the Pacific. Don't forget, you can always get the latest news and information around the clock on our website, dw.com. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.